Macros 101. So you've got your proteins, carbs, and fats. The first one we're going to be talking about is protein. So in these videos, we're mainly trying to give the information that we think is going to benefit you, and not just try and waffle on about the science, because it's not always going to get you the results any quicker or any better, but a better understanding will hopefully give you more reason why and why you want to have maybe a higher protein diet. So what we're going to talk about today: what is protein? Is it important? When and how much to eat? 2 ways protein aids fat loss, the thermic effect of food, and some of the best sources we can get it from. So jumping into the first one. So protein is an essential nutrient. It provides the building blocks and is a fuel source for the body. You'll find out later on with carbs and fats if they're essential or not. Essentially, carbs isn't, and fats is, and protein is one of the main ones. So protein provides 4 calories per gram. So we know if you've ate 40 grams of protein, you've had 40 calories. So is protein essential for the body? So the answer is yes, it's very essential. Protein is essential for growth and repair and the maintenance of a good, healthy body, because all cells and tissues contain protein, as well as muscle and blood and skin. So what is protein? Protein is made up of amino acids, which are the building blocks to all muscle growth. Without protein, it would be impossible for the body to build, repair, and maintain muscle tissue. So long term, you can probably understand it's really important. So when and how much to eat protein? First, we need to understand something that commonly comes up in anything to do with protein when you dive into it is MPS, or muscle protein synthesis. So this is the process of building and repairing muscle after it has been broken down from exercise. So a really important part we always want to stay on top of. So things people need to remember. So no matter how much protein you eat in one sitting, only around 15 to 30 grams will be used for the process of muscle protein synthesis, and the rest of the protein will be used for other services needed within the body. So essentially, any amount higher provides a little benefit and can be a waste of calories for you and what you enjoy. So you know what that means is you can't eat more than that in a meal, but the whole reason we're eating protein is for the repair and maintenance of our muscles. So again, there's no real benefit to it, so sticking to that, you'll be pretty good. So this is why we suggest one big meal a day or one big sitting of protein isn't the best option if you want to be building or maintaining muscle. So sometimes people do OMAD, 1 meal a day, or sometimes people don't eat much in the day, then they have a really big dinner. And sometimes when you look at the stats of their dinner, you know, they've had maybe like 70 grams in a meal, which is great. But like we just said above, their body's actually only really going to be using around 15 to 30 grams for the muscle repair and maintenance process. So the better way to do this and how much you should eat throughout the day. So the way to do this is to spread your protein portions out over the entirety of the day, since research has shown muscle protein synthesis takes about 2 to 3 hours before normalizing. So this is why me and Faye generally suggest to eat between 15 to say 35 grams of protein per meal, 3 to 5 times a day. Again, the amount of protein is going to be dependent on the individual, but the rough amount of 15 to 30 to 35 is going to be a good goal to base each meal around. And again, there's no extra benefit of having, say, 30 grams of protein and then 30 grams of protein within an hour again, because we know the muscle protein synthesis process takes about 2 to 3 hours, and then that's when it sort of lowers back down again, and that's when ideally you could then have another serving of, say, 30 grams of protein. But again, we don't have to be that specific when we're general population. If we're an athlete, maybe it's more important, but for now, understanding it is. So how much should you be eating? So we do it to grams per pound of body weight. So I regularly suggest 0.6 grams to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So if you're sedentary, obviously the lower minimum amount is a good target. if you're training, I'd say resistance training more than twice a day and you're active and hit your steps, you're going to be wanting, ideally, when you're fully into it, hitting about a gram of protein per pound of body weight. So a good example of this, if you weigh 150 grams, the lower limit is going to be 90 grams and the upper limit is 150 grams. Again, this is a range, it's not a law or a dead set number. So if you ate 170 or 80 grams, it doesn't make much difference, it's still good, especially if you've eaten that space throughout the day. We know you're going to be sort of bang on target for that. And then the minimum, sort of what you want to be for making sure we maintain the muscle. And again, we'd have to see on your recovery basis if that minimum is enough or not. So next slide. So eating protein for weight loss and why is it important? So protein can indirectly aid fat loss in two ways. So number one, many studies have shown that in trained individuals or in individuals going through a dieting phase, a higher protein diet was always superior. So essentially what that means, if they are trained and they may be potential athletes, higher protein diets meant they recovered quicker. So again, they'd perform better in their next training session. On the second one, individuals going through a dieting phase, it essentially helped them maintain and decrease the risk of losing any muscle. So like it says on the next line, it has been shown that higher protein diets led to greater muscle retention in a calorie deficit. So whether you are doing resistance training or long distance running, it doesn't matter, there is still a muscle breakdown. So again, you need to repair and rebuild the muscle that you've just used essentially. So many studies state the diet that consisted of higher protein led to more maintenance of lean body mass, which allowed the individual to lose more weight from their body fat during a calorie deficit phase. So people that potentially lose a lot of weight really quickly, can be water, carbohydrates, gut content, but if they do it for, say, a prolonged time, maybe, 3 to 6 weeks of a really strict diet, and they just keep losing weight, a lot of the time it can start to become muscle if it's too severe, and the activity is really high, which is essentially the last thing you want to do on a weight loss diet. Protein can indirectly aid fat loss in two ways. So number two, higher levels of satiety, feeling fuller and less hunger. The only way to lose fat is to be in a calorie deficit, so we all know that. But once we are, so two things, that is not how you spell hunger, but I'll have to change that for next time. So it changes the imbalance of our hormones. So the leptin levels decrease, ghrelin will increase. This imbalance essentially causes you to become more hungry, and again, will generally increase your calorie intake, which is the last thing we want to do because it will bring you out of a calorie deficit. So two main reasons it makes you feel fuller. Protein has a slower or low digestion rate compared to other macros. It generally won't raise your blood sugar levels like foods which are high on the GI index. So foods that are high on the GI index are anything that's high in sugar. So again, this will raise your blood sugar levels quite high. It will satisfy you really quick, but again, it will drop really quick, making you hungry or want to snack quite quick after. A quick example is cereals. So if people eat cereals in the morning, they generally snack quite quick after because cereals are high in carbs and sugars. So again, like it says at the bottom, so when you feel fuller for longer, you'll crave or eat less calories, equaling in less calories overall. Okay, so one of the next ones is learning the thermic effects of food. So calories burned in a day is broken up into different segments. So if we look to the one on the right, so your regular bodily functions, or your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, is the amount of calories you burn during the day. So that's the amount of calories you burn if you literally just laid in bed and did not do absolutely anything or eat anything. That is how much calories your body needs to live and survive. So that's when people are dieting below it, it's always a bad idea. The next section is, say, 10 to 15% is your NEAT. Again, I've got NEAT now, I'm fidgeting, I'm talking. When you're moving, when you're getting your steps in, you're increasing your calories burned, so you're increasing your NEAT, which is your non-essential activity thermogenesis. So that's, again, like I said, you don't have to leave bed. It's not essential, I guess, to the body. So it's only when you start walking around is when you're using it. The next 10% is the digestion of food. So when we eat food, it takes energy to eat it. And this is what this slide is going to show, that protein actually has the highest effect. So protein requires more energy to absorb, digest, and utilize than any other macronutrient. What does this mean? So an example is 80% of protein calories are absorbed and available to the body. 20% are burned away trying to break it down and use it in the body. So a quick example, if you ate 100 calories worth of protein, you'd have 80 calories that actually get used and absorbed, while 20 calories is thrown away to digest and break it down. So the thermic effect of food takes up about 10% of the daily calories burned. So this is why we know that's why usually people with a higher or high protein diet can have a higher calorie burn day to day and a weekly average. So again, it's not always about just the one day. It's mainly same with your weight. It's about the average across the week, the weeks, the months, the years. Again, more calories burned per day is more or less going to equal to more fat burn over a longer period. So this is why people with higher protein diets can generally potentially burn more calories, so increase the deficit they are in. So the next slide. So again, people struggle with what to eat. So here is just some of the my top picks of what 20 grams of protein looks like and what sources you could aim for. So if you've got these, within variety within your diet, you're going to be onto a winner. So again, you've got eggs, you've got your whey isolate protein, your beef, tuna, so you've got the fishes, you've got chicken breast, fat-free Greek yogurt, so you've got the Farge, and then you've got the Arla yogurts are quite good. We've got cottage cheese. So again, if you can start adding these and putting these on your shopping list, it's going to make a big benefit. Oh, and that is the end of the slide. So hopefully that has given you more information about it. Any questions on protein, put them below in the comment section and we will answer them for you. So I hope you have a good day, and we shall check you on the next presentation.